Hi guys, it's King Gabriel again, here for impromptu video number 6, and today's topic is actually personal responsibility. When I speak about personal responsibility, it's not about blame, it's not about somebody doing something wrong or making some wrong decision that made a bad outcome or anything like that. It's strictly about the fact that everyone is responsible for his or her own consciousness. Alright, and that's the personal responsibility we have. People say we're responsible for our actions a lot of the time, but our actions actually come from our thoughts, the things that we hold in mind, and this makes the frequency which allows us to act in a specific way and to feel good about the action we take, or to watch certain actions as inappropriate, right? So really, even though it seems like we're not in control of our thoughts and thoughts just come and run through us, we focus on those thoughts or we look away and think other thoughts. So then our personal responsibility is really for looking at which thoughts are we paying attention to. You know, we can pay attention to one frequency and have certain things that would come through and manifest as our experience, or we could pay attention to another frequency, and by paying attention to that frequency, we don't have those things happen, or we take different action. We find ourselves acting more kindly, more lovingly, and in a general sense doing good for all those that are around us. And that comes from focusing on a frequency that would actually allow you to act according to that frequency, right? So really and truly, we are responsible on that level, right? No one can come and rip fear away from us, because truly we choose whether we're going to be afraid or not by our thoughts. We choose to look at it as if, well, I'm separate from this person. This person is a different religion or a different whatever to me, and this person is a different race or whatever. All those are thoughts that we allow ourselves to think. And it's pretty clear if you look at, for instance, people walking down the street, and you see one person look down the street a bit ahead of themselves. They think in their head the thoughts about that person ahead, and then they move accordingly. They move across the street a little bit or move a little further because they're thinking in their head already, okay, this is a threat. They've assessed the threat, right? And that has nothing to do with the person that's coming towards them. That all has to do with an internal dialogue that's happening. So they thought within specific parameters and within a specific frequency that this is a threat. And that is based on their past, not based on that person's past, but based on their individual past and their consciousness. And so when we really think about it, it is each individual's responsibility to take care of his or her consciousness, and therefore leave space. And obviously it makes sense to assess things that could be harmful, etc., because that's what the ego does for us. It keeps us safe. But at the same time as that, we have to know when to be able to choose the other route, which is to see the truth, to see that this individual is just like us, walking the planet just like us, having an experience just like us, and to get even deeper in that, this individual is us, right? So when we get really deep on that and we understand those sorts of things, we start feeling the feelings that connect us and experiencing the divine consciousness within us. We start to see people, and it's like we know everybody. We really do know everybody, because everybody comes from the same place in that way. And so when we interact with people, we don't treat people as strangers. We don't hold grudges. We don't have anything against anybody, really, because all of us come from the same place, and we're actually going on the same lovely journey, right? The journey is one of self-exploration and expression of those deeper qualities, those divine qualities that are in us, expression of the soul through and as our lives. And so that's what we're looking at, and it's up to us to take the responsibility for those thoughts and for our actions that extend from those thoughts, but to recognize also that even though the actions extend from those thoughts, it's not so much the actions that we have to address. It's the thoughts we have to address, because those actions would be impossible without the thoughts to support them. And that is why it is really crazy to think that people would be upset, for instance, at a child who does something that we would call wrong. The child doesn't have the understanding as yet, at least most of the times, doesn't have the understanding as yet to know that it's really going to harm them or harm others around them. So then, as the loving beings we are, our real course of action should be to educate the child so that the child fully understands, well, if you do this, you may be encroaching upon the rights of another. You may be causing this person to suffer. Yes, you're getting what you want, but at the same time, getting what you want costs the other this. And then they can see the relationship between things and understand that their personal consciousness does affect the others. And so that's what needs to be taught. If you were to think about it in the sense of, for instance, like tuning forks, like they've used before, tuning forks, for instance. If a person is vibrating at a specific frequency, like a tuning fork, and they go into the field of another, right? It's one of two things that happens. One of those fields is highly dominant, and it's going to drag the other into that field, and then it will have to either dull down a bit or move up a bit to match that frequency, right? Or there will be a dissonance and there will be a disagreement, so then it will cause a whole erratic or chaotic sound, as we would call it. Or both of them would resonate to a frequency that is similar, and then it would be a harmonious thing, right? It would be harmonious, a harmonious frequency. So it's up to us to choose what that looks like. We can bump up against people, and this is where the idea of two comes from a lot of the time, but we bump up against people and we have different frequencies initially, and what causes arguments and stuff like that is actually the dissonance between the frequencies. It's not a personal thing. There's nothing personal here. It's just about frequencies that don't agree in consciousness. And when those consciousnesses do not agree, the upshoot of that is anger. The upshoot of that is disagreement, is chaos. But when they do agree, there's a sense of closeness. And so they come together and they vibrate at a harmonious frequency. And really looking at it, there's no reason to actually be, and I know this is just words right now until we actually live it and experience it, but there's no reason to actually be upset at somebody to the degree where you want to do harm to them, because it's not about them, it's about the consciousness that they are allowing themselves to have for that point in time. And that is all in time. That changes with time as people are educated and they learn more and they understand to just understand in that matter. The more they understand and the more they're able to realize that we are the same, then they start to vibrate at a different frequency that is allowing others to do whatever they need to do and just loving them through it, because they realize that in there is the same being that's trying to take the same journey that they're trying to take. And that's why our personal responsibility really is to really get down to it and see that the other, even though he or she may seem like if they're, and people have names for these people all the time because they think of these things in human consciousness, whatever it is the name is that you have for that person or whatever disagreement you have with them, they're on the same journey. They're going to the same place. It's just they haven't had enough information or the opportunity to have this stuff explained to them to the point where they accept it and realize, well, okay, so I'm on a journey here. I can accept myself where I am. I don't have to prove everything to everybody and try to establish my stronghold in this world or anything like that, because I'm actually on a journey. And when that understanding comes, then everybody who's on that journey, well, they become brothers and sisters. They become people that we look at and we see, well, hey, here's what I know. Hey, what do you know? And we share information and we grow. And we grow and we expand. And some have walked further ahead, right? Some have encountered many things that others haven't. And they have to look back and help those that need to take that step as well. Need to be reminded sometimes that they are not victims of life, right? If anything, life is happening just as they are. So then it's not really that they're victims. It's about recognizing who they really are so that they can experience a different life. And that's what's really happening. So it's up to us to make that into reality for more people. When we see people who are acting irrationally or acting mean or whatever, it's just a lack of understanding, a lack of love in that sense. And we can bring that to them through us, right? So that's our responsibility. So the personal responsibility is actually the responsibility for the whole, the responsibility for everyone. But firstly, it starts with us understanding fully who and what we are, right? Embracing that fully and acting in that way. And so others see us, and in seeing us in their experience, their vibration in a sense gets elevated, because they see a different way of being which they hadn't seen before. It just was non-existent, and now it's there as a manifest form. That is why we are here, and that is what we are doing for others as well. So we play a game where we are ascending, we are moving forward, but others are moving forward with us, right? Because they see that vibration, they see the potential for themselves in us, and they live through us. So that's what I have for you today, and I hope that it makes some sense to you and you can apply it in your life and start to see others just as you see yourself. Eternal love and infinite peace.